The bride's older brother was a fool who did not even go to high school, let alone university. And I hear he is currently unemployed. At the wedding reception, the groom's father-in-law made an outrageous speech. We absolutely cannot accept someone like that into our family. An unemployed middle school graduate is a disgrace to our lineage. Immediately after, something astonishing happened in the reception hall, and the groom's father-in-law began to tremble uncontrollably. My name is Robert. They say everyone has at least one life-changing event. For me, it was a single remark from my little sister. Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. I want to help people who are suffering from illnesses, just like Dad did. At that time, my sister Sarah was in the 5th grade, and I was in the 8th grade. Our father was a town doctor, a dedicated man who would even go out on house calls in the middle of the night if a patient called. Perhaps it was his dedication that led to it. One night, on his way back from a house call as usual, he suffered a heart attack and died suddenly. He was not the kind of father who became a doctor for money. He spent his earnings on the latest medical equipment. There was still a loan to pay off from when he built the clinic, so in the end, a junior doctor from medical school took over. After handing over the clinic, my mother, Margaret, moved with my younger sister and me to an apartment and started working part-time to raise us. My mother loved dancing, and she had met my father at a dance party. For my father, who was always busy as a doctor, dancing with my mother was his only joy. But after my father passed away suddenly, my mother no longer had the luxury of enjoying dance and had to work from morning till night. So when my sister Sarah said she wanted to be a doctor, my mother fell silent, looking deeply troubled. To become a doctor, you have to study for 6 years in medical school. Even at a public medical university, the tuition is still quite expensive. Hey Mom, I'll study really hard, so please support me, okay? Sarah, it's good to have dreams, but you should have dreams that are within reach. It's not just a dream. If I work hard, I can definitely become a doctor. Watching Sarah, who looked like she was about to cry, made me feel sad. With my mother only working part-time, even attending university seemed impossible. And medical school? That was even more out of reach. But knowing it was impossible, I still said to Sarah, I will support you, so aim to be a doctor and study hard. Really? You promise, Robert? But you have to promise me you won't complain. Thank you. I will study as hard as I can. I will definitely get into a public medical university. Hearing the exchange between my sister and me, my mother, Margaret, covered her face with her hands and began to cry. When my sister Sarah said she wanted to be a doctor, it reminded me of my late father. Robert, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was just starting elementary school and answered innocently. I want to be a pilot. A pilot, huh? How about becoming a doctor like your dad? I don't want to be a doctor because if a patient calls, you have to go out even in the middle of the night, right? Hearing that, my father laughed. Then he told me why he had become a doctor. The reason I became a doctor is that when my father, your grandfather, fell ill, I admired the doctor who performed surgery on him. But Grandpa didn't make it, right? That's true. But back then, that doctor did everything he could to save his life. I never forgot how hard he tried. When my father told me that story, I think he probably wanted me to become a doctor. But in the end, that wish did not come true, and he died of the same heart attack that had taken my grandfather. That is why, when my sister Sarah said she wanted to become a doctor, I made up my mind to do everything I could to make her dream come true. Robert, please, at least go to high school. It's okay, Mom. I'll start working after middle school for Sarah's sake. But life is hard without an education. Are you really okay with that? Mom, in the future, it will not be about education. It will be about skills. Don't worry, but at least go to high school. It's fine. I'll work and make sure you can enjoy dancing again like before, Mom. Hearing my words, my mother pressed her hand to her eyes. And so, right after graduating from middle school, I started working. I got a job at a small startup company that had just been established. Thanks to my parents, who loved dancing, I was naturally athletic and quite good with my hands. Since it was an IT-related company, I was put in charge of assembling precision parts. The young president, Mr. Johnson, was not the kind of person who cared about education, and he came to recognize my work. Robert, make sure to study while your mind is still flexible. It will definitely be useful in the future. Mr. Johnson personally taught me IT skills, and university graduate senior colleagues trained me in programming from the ground up. I learned specialized knowledge that even high school graduates would not typically get, and I found the work at the startup incredibly enjoyable. Seeing how hard I worked, my sister Sarah also pushed herself to study hard. Without even attending tutoring classes, she maintained top grades in her class and successfully got into a pharmacy university. Sarah initially aimed to become a doctor, but along the way, she realized the importance of pharmacy, and by the time she graduated from high school, she was pursuing a career as a pharmacist. I got in thanks to you, Robert. Thank you. Dad would have been so happy if he were alive. Work hard, and make sure you get your pharmacist license. I will. I won't let your hard work go to waste. And you know, Mom looks so happy these days. It's probably because you invite her to dance. By that time, I had started taking my mother, Margaret, to dance parties on weekends. As she danced to the music, she probably reminisced about her days with my father. Seeing the smile on her face also healed my heart. We were poor, but our family was getting by relatively well. However, misfortune struck suddenly. Everyone, I am so sorry. I got involved in an investment scheme that a friend introduced me to, and it led to bankruptcy. Mr. Johnson, why did you do something so reckless? I needed funds desperately for business expansion. But to believe in such a shady investment scheme, it was introduced by a trusted business partner. I am so sorry. It is entirely my fault as the president. Mr. Johnson knelt down and bowed his head deeply to the employees. A few days later, the debt collectors came and seized all the equipment from the factory, making it impossible for us to continue working. Seeing Mr. Johnson, who had been my role model, fall from grace was a huge shock. But it was my senior colleagues who encouraged me. Robert, there's no time to cry. Don't let all the work we've done go to waste. Yes. I worked with my senior colleagues to carefully store all the work documents and blueprints we had created. The startup company that had recognized me not for my education but for my skills had collapsed. I had to look for a new job, but all the companies I applied to only judged me by my lack of education, and I could not find any place that valued my experience from the startup. It was around that time that I received an invitation to a middle school reunion. I was the only one who had gone straight to work after middle school, so I felt hesitant and did not want to attend. Robert, there's no point in being depressed. If you go to the reunion, something good might happen. Yeah, maybe you're right. Encouraged by my mother, I decided to go to the reunion. My classmates who had graduated from high school and university seemed to have stable jobs and were enjoying their lives. I got a job at a trading company, but they're sending me to Singapore right away. Man, it's tough, said David, the classmate I disliked the most, as he deliberately spoke loudly at me. Come to think of it, Robert, you went straight to some small factory after middle school, right? Did you get promoted or anything? No. The factory shut down, and I'm currently looking for work. Hearing that, David raised his voice deliberately so the entire hall could hear. You're unemployed? Man, that's pathetic. I can't believe you even showed up to the reunion. Aren't you embarrassed? His shout caught the attention of my former classmates, and they gathered around me. Unemployed, huh? Must be nice and easy, Robert. Looking for a job with just a middle school education? That must be rough. Hey, someone, is there any place that would hire an unemployed middle school graduate? The way my classmates treated me, as if I were some kind of rare specimen, was too much to bear. I couldn't hold back any longer and ran out of the reunion hall. As I walked, feeling depressed and wondering how I would live from now on, I happened to see my sister Sarah delivering orders on a motorbike. Seeing her working hard at a part-time job while going to university made me rethink everything. I can't be sulking around like this. If I go on like this, I won't be able to help Sarah with her tuition. I decided to call one of my senior colleagues from the startup I used to work at. Oh, Robert. Perfect timing. Actually, I'm planning to start a new venture. Would you like to join me? Really? Yes. Please let me join. And so, I began working with my former senior to establish a new startup company. However, it was a constant struggle. Salaries went unpaid, and one by one, our team members left. Eventually, it was just me and my senior left standing. Robert, I'm so sorry. I dragged you into this mess and made you suffer. Come on, we can still do this. Let's keep going. You really want to keep at it, even when I can't pay you properly? I have nothing to lose as a middle school graduate. I'm throwing everything I have into this. Thank you, Robert. And so, my senior and I struggled desperately to pull ourselves out of rock bottom. But at that point, it was impossible for me to help Sarah with her tuition anymore. Sarah, I'm sorry. I can't help you with your tuition anymore. It's okay, Robert. I know how hard you're working. I'm almost done with school, so I'll keep pushing to get my pharmacist license. Sarah, thank you for supporting me all this time, Robert. After that, Sarah worked multiple part-time jobs to pay for her own tuition. But I was so busy fighting to keep the startup alive that I didn't even have the time to worry about her. It was my mother, Margaret, who told me that Sarah had graduated safely from university and obtained her pharmacist license. Sarah had achieved her dream. I was beyond happy. All the struggles I went through after graduating from middle school had finally paid off. I was proud of myself for supporting Sarah. 3 years after she started working as a pharmacist, I received a call. Robert, I'm getting married. Getting married? I haven't heard from you in a while, and now you drop this bombshell? He's a doctor at the hospital. He's a really good person. I want you to meet him sometime. Oh yeah, sure. Anyway, congratulations, Sarah. Apparently, my mother already knew and had even met her fiancé. What? You didn't tell me? You could have at least mentioned it. Sarah said she wanted to tell you herself. So, what kind of guy is he? He's an internist at the hospital. He's really down to earth and a wonderful person. I'm sure Sarah will be happy with him. He even reminds me a little of your father. Like Dad. I see. Knowing Sarah, I didn't think she would choose someone unworthy, but hearing that he was like our father put me at ease. A week later, I met her fiancé, Aaron Brown, at the lounge of a hotel. Just as my mother had said, he did have a presence similar to my late father, though he was taller and had the air of someone from a well-off family. According to Aaron, the Brown family was full of doctors and lawyers, and they were well known in the community. Aaron's father is a doctor at the hospital where we work, and he's also the chairman of the board. Wow, that's impressive. So, I guess Aaron will be chairman someday too, I said politely. Aaron turned serious and responded, I intend to live my life as a doctor, nothing else. Hearing that, I was convinced that he truly did resemble my late father. It made me want to praise Sarah for choosing such a man as her partner. After we finished our introductions and stepped out of the hotel lounge, Aaron turned to me. Robert, may I have your business card? I'd like to contact you once the wedding date is decided. Oh, I'm sorry. I just left my company recently, so I don't have a business card right now. What? So, you're unemployed? For a moment, Aaron's face turned pale, and I suddenly had a bad feeling. That feeling proved to be right at the wedding reception. The wedding venue was a prestigious luxury hotel. Apparently, Sarah and Aaron had planned to have a modest wedding, but Aaron's father, Thomas, decided otherwise, saying, This is the wedding of the eldest son of the Brown family. There will be many guests, so it should be a proper grand reception. Having only ever worn work clothes, just putting on a suit made me nervous. On top of that, it was my first time meeting Aaron's father, Thomas. Robert, you look so nervous. It's kind of funny. Yeah, you're going to make his family laugh at you. When we arrived at the venue, my mother and I were led to the family's waiting room. That's when Aaron's father, Thomas, came in to greet us. Aaron's future is secure now that he's marrying a brilliant pharmacist like Sarah. The entire Brown family is delighted with this union. Oh no, We are the ones who are honored. I'm humbled that my sister is marrying the eldest son of such a distinguished family. Feeling overwhelmed by Thomas's imposing and dignified presence, I did my best to respond appropriately as Sarah's older brother. We somehow managed to finish the greetings without incident, and just as Thomas was about to leave. Come to think of it, I heard Robert is still single. I happen to know a young lady from a fine family. I could introduce you. Oh, I'm not really. No need to be modest. She's from a very respectable family. I'm sure your family would be delighted as well. As I hesitated, Thomas bluntly asked, "By the way, Robert, which university did you graduate from?" My father passed away when I was young, so I started working right after graduating middle school. My sister Sarah worked hard in my place and made it to university. What? Robert is a middle school graduate. Yes. And what is your occupation now? I actually just left my company recently, so I'm still looking. So, you're unemployed at the moment? Thomas glared at me with sharp eyes and pointed his finger firmly at my chest. Just then, a hotel staff member called out to Thomas. Thomas swallowed his words, turned away from me, and stepped out into the hallway. I let out a sigh of relief. But the real explosion came during the wedding reception. When Thomas stood up to give his speech, the entire room fell silent. In our family, everyone is either a doctor or a lawyer, and every single one of us has graduated from a university or even graduate school. My eldest son, Aaron, has won the heart of Sarah, a brilliant graduate of a prestigious pharmacy school. She will certainly bring excellent genes into our family. The room erupted in laughter and applause, and Thomas's speech grew even more enthusiastic. But as they say, life is full of surprises. Unfortunately, Sarah's older brother did not even attend high school, let alone university. He is nothing but a foolish middle school graduate. And on top of that, I hear he is currently unemployed. Gasps of surprise rippled through the audience. I simply cannot accept someone like that into our family. A jobless middle school graduate is a disgrace to our lineage. As I listened to Thomas's speech, cold sweat poured down my body. A disgrace? Of all the things he could say, he chose that word. Why did I have to be insulted like this by Thomas? Just as I was about to step forward and confront him, Sarah snatched the microphone a split second faster. "Mr. Brown, thank you for that wonderful speech." Sarah's sarcastic remark made Thomas, clearly irritated, try to snatch the microphone back from her. But Sarah held onto the microphone firmly and began addressing the audience. "It is true that my brother Robert is a middle school graduate, but that's because he sacrificed his own education to work, just so I could pursue my dream of becoming a doctor. He worked to help pay for my tuition." The room fell completely silent. As if to dispel the heavy atmosphere, Sarah brightened her tone and continued. "But despite that, my brother has prepared a special surprise performance for all of you today. I hope you all enjoy it. Please take a look." As she finished speaking, the doors to the reception hall swung open, and 7 humanoid robots entered, dancing rhythmically to the music. The guests murmured in amazement, and Sarah introduced the performance through the microphone. These robots were developed by my brother. They are medical robots. My father, who passed away young, met my mother at a dance party, and that's how my brother and I came into this world. One of the robots danced with my mother. The reason I used to invite my mother to dance was actually to teach the robots, which I was developing, how to move with rhythm. Seeing my mother dance with a robot, I joined in and danced with one of them as well. The entire hall erupted into applause, and the wedding reception turned into a joyous celebration. Gripping the microphone tightly, Sarah turned to the stunned Thomas and spoke. "I owe everything I am to my brother. The fact that I met Aaron is also thanks to him. I refused to call someone who insulted my brother and called him a disgrace to the family, my father-in-law." "What did you just say? And did you know that the medical robots introduced at the hospital where you serve as chairman were actually developed by my brother?" At that moment, Thomas turned pale and his legs began to tremble. The truth is, The reason I left my previous company and am currently unemployed is that I am starting a new medical robotics venture. When faced with that reality, Thomas collapsed to his knees, hanging his head in shock. Many of the board members of Thomas's hospital were in attendance, and they unleashed their anger at his disgraceful behavior. What pushed Thomas even further into despair was a single statement from his own son, Aaron. "I am ashamed of you, Father. I was the one who decided to introduce the medical robots into the hospital. I have no intention of letting you manage the hospital any longer. From this day on, I no longer consider you my father, and I am no longer your son. Aaron, I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Though Thomas's fall from grace was pitiful, the reception hall remained lively as guests enjoyed dancing with the robots. Sarah and Aaron left Thomas's house and began their life together, just the two of them. Thomas was disowned by his wife, who handed him divorce papers. He was also dismissed from his position as chairman by the hospital board for being unfit, and he now spent his days desperately searching for a hospital willing to hire him. The medical robotics startup that my senior and I had launched gained nationwide attention, and its business was growing steadily. On weekends, I started going to dance classes with my mother. One day, a beautiful woman became my dance partner in place of my mother. While dancing, the woman said to me, "When I was a child, your father saved my life." It turned out she had attended the same dance school as my parents. One day, she collapsed from a sudden attack, but my father, who happened to be there, performed first aid and saved her life. When I told her that my father had passed away at a young age, tears filled her eyes. I always wanted to see him again and thank him. He's smiling in heaven right now. As I continued dancing with her, our hearts grew closer and we began to go on dates. I was sure it was a bond that my father had brought together from heaven. Thinking that, I silently gave thanks to my late father